Hello, Divine Grace Parish. Today we have a beautiful reading from the book of the prophet Jeremiah. I'll just read part of it. He writes, I went down to the potter's house, and there he was, working at the wheel. Whenever the object of clay which he was making turned out badly in his hand, he tried again, making of the clay another object, of whatever sort he pleased. Then the word of the Lord came to me. Indeed, like clay in the hand of the potter, so are you in my hand. So this image is beautiful because first of all, we see how intimately the Lord works with us, how personally, forming us into a beautiful creation, which He willed from even before the beginning of time. And on the other hand, we see that sometimes what He's making turned out badly in His hand. And this strikes us, why can something God made turn out badly if God is all good and all powerful? But experientially, we can feel this, that this sense of, we haven't been as receptive to God as we could be. We haven't abandoned ourselves completely into His hands, and thus He can't do with us all that He wills to do. And sometimes looking back on our life, mistakes we've made, even recently or further in the past, we could have this false idea that plan A for our life is over. And now we're living in some plan B or C or X, Y, or Z, and there's just not hope for us. And so this, I believe, is a lie of the enemy that's placed in our lives, that our life will never be as good as it could have been. But we need to, again, come back to this abandonment into God's hands, this receptivity to His will, because God can make good of your life at every point, and all we have is right now. I think of the story of St. Maria Goretti's murderer, and if you know this story, I recommend looking up this story if you haven't heard it. But his name was Alessandro Serenelli, and he tried to take advantage of St. Maria Goretti in a terrible way, and when she was a young girl, and then when he couldn't have her, he attacked her, and she died. But he was put in prison for 30 years because he was still a minor, and 6 years later, he was visited in a dream by Saint Maria, and she was picking white lilies in a garden and giving them to him one by one. And he was just so moved by this visit from the girl whom he had killed, and he knew that she was praying for him, that his life wasn't over, that there was a new beginning possible. And just in that moment, he embraced it. He received it. He allowed that impulse of God's love to come into his life, and the rest of his life, he was a different man. He ended up working as a lay brother in a Franciscan monastery, actually working in the garden. And that story just shows me, no matter what mistakes that I think I've made, God's story for my life is never over. And it's not up to me what's possible with my life. It's up to God. And that's better than we could ask for or imagine. And as Christopher West says, each person, me, you, are indispensable, irreplaceable, and unrepeatable. Your life is a life that's never been lived before and never will be again. And like that clay, God cares for you intimately. He's more personally invested in you than you are in yourself. You can trust Him. You can trust His hand working in your life.